And for more on what's happening in the state of Florida, we want to bring in Florida Congressman Michael Waltz, formerly a U.S. Army National Guard Special Forces officer, a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and the first Green Beret elected to U.S. Congress. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. First, we're going to start with this new report talking about the downsizing of the RNC. How do you think that's going to impact the convention in Florida?
Well, Jacksonville is my hometown. The Jacksonville business community is thrilled to have the convention coming. And I think the president has said, Ronna McDaniel has said, I had the opportunity to speak with her last night, that they're going to be flexible here. And I think this is prudent. It's common sense. The delegates are going to come and do convention business. And at the end of the day, the president is going to have the opportunity to lay out what he has done for this country, which I think has been phenomenal, and then his vision for another 4 years. And so, if we have to get testing in place, we have to get protective measures in place, and if we're going to adjust the size of the crowd to be flexible with this virus, then I think that's appropriate and responsible.
Well, you mentioned testing, and as we've seen, the number of cases in Florida has spiked dramatically during this time, passing more than 300,000, a record 10,000 positive cases yesterday. Is that concerning to you? Are the hospitals ready to deal with those positive cases that might need to be hospitalized?
Well, of course it's concerning. We're taking it very seriously, but we have to break that data down a little bit further to really understand what's going on. The vast majority of those cases are concentrated in South Florida. Up in North Florida, where we are going to have the convention, out in the Panhandle, very different experience. And so I'm paying close attention to not just the hospitalization rates, but the net gain and those that are actually going into ICU. I was just at a veterans hospital visiting a wounded warrior, and yes, they are having an increased number of cases coming in, but the median age is dropping, and actually the length of the hospital stay is dropping. It's dropped from an average of 12 days down to 7 or 8, and they're treating those patients, they're discharging them, they're not going on to ventilators, and they fortunately are not being added to the death toll. So we just have to keep in mind the goal always was to flatten the curve so our hospital systems can handle this. And right now they are handling it. In some places they're having a tougher time, and I think it's appropriate there for those local officials to then pull back and add some more restrictions. At the end of the day, this is going to take all Americans coming together with personal responsibility to follow the guidelines. But what I am not for are national mandates or even statewide mandates, because different places are having a very different experience with this virus.
And you answered my question there. Governor of Florida deciding not to instill a statewide mask mandate. Of course, different cities across the state have decided to take that decision upon themselves. I'm wondering if you've seen this report coming out of Fox 35 in Orlando. It's been reported that several labs in Florida have actually overstated positive coronavirus tests and virtually ignored the negative results. What's really going on here?
Well, I want to commend Fox 35 for trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. I'm following this very closely because I think we're seeing here, here's what we're not seeing. We're not seeing how many negatives that are coming in, and what we're not seeing from hospitals and in the broader conversation is how many people are recovering from the virus. You would think from watching the mainstream media that that we just have death rates on par with the bubonic plague, and that's just not the case. Our hospital systems, our physician network have brought on the appropriate equipment. They have remdesivir in a number of places. We are handling this virus. I think where I have real issue is the notion that we should be shutting back down or that we opened too soon. Those hotel workers, hospitality industry workers, transportation, and others desperately need to get back to work. And many of them desperately need to send their kids to school so that they can get back to work. So this notion of going back to nationwide or even statewide shutdowns, I just think is not a responsible conversation. People really are suffering, and what we're not counting is addiction, suicide, and all of the other health effects that from the shutdowns when we don't react responsibly for this virus. We have to be able to do both.
Yeah. We'll switch gears just very quickly that we've got you here, talking about the president's recent executive order to end preferential status for Hong Kong with the U.S. here. What sort of impact do you see that playing out between U.S.-China relations?
Well, Hong Kong is a huge financial engine for mainland China. And we are now backing away from our preferential treatment because mainland China has basically walked away from its treaty obligations and taken over Hong Kong. It's truly a shame. It's a tragedy, but I commend the administration for taking a tough stand. Look, China is absolutely, the Chinese Communist Party is woefully taking advantage of this virus. They have killed Indian Army soldiers. They're on the march in the South China Sea. They've taken over Hong Kong. They're putting Uyghurs in concentration camps, and they are on the diplomatic offensive around the world to blame this virus on the United States. The Trump administration isn't standing for it. And I think, look, the rest of this century, whether it is light or dark, is going to be determined by whether China is calling the shots around the world or the free countries allied with the United States. And the Trump administration sees that very clearly, and I'm fully supportive of their actions.
All right, that's Congressman Michael Waltz. Thank you for coming on today's program.
All right, thanks so much.